Welcome to Eye on the Illini. This is Mike Cagley here with Brad Sturdy. We are going to talk a little bit about Illinois getting yet another commitment, this time from a 6'3" point guard. Brad, I'm going to leave you to do the pronunciation properly so that we don't brutalize the what's left of our capabilities with the English language.
How about Petrovic?
Yeah,
Oh,
I like
you mean
that. I got that. Yeah.
I believe it is
Heel.
Mihailo, something. It's something like that. But anyway, regardless, he's really good, right? Even if we can't pronounce his name, he's really good. One thing we can see is what he does on the basketball floor. He's got elite quickness, elite speed, super tight handle. He's got the ability to get downhill. He's not a high flyer. He's excellent finisher with both hands around the rim. Really good shooter. His shooting percentage was like 33.8% this year. But he takes a lot of late shot clock threes, step backs, things like that, because that's his role, right? But what makes him special is his passing. See, second in the league is like 14.3 points, 7.3 assists, second in assists in the league. He's top 10 in scoring. He's got great strength. He's 22 years old. He's not an 18-year-old kid coming over. Already got great strength. Has the ability to handle pressure. He's got a tighter handle. He's not the upside talent maybe Kasparas is, but he's got a tighter handle. He's got the ability to do things that Kasparas can't do because he's more developed. Imagine Kasparas in 2 years, what he would look like if he plays. He's going to be fantastic. Actually 3. But so you got a guy who's going to come in. He's going to play right away. Somebody asked if he would come off the bench. I said, I don't think guys who are like in the top 5 in the league in over there are coming here to be a role player and learn. I don't know how many years he's going to get eligibility, whether it's going to be 2 or 3. I doubt he gets full 4, but he's going to get something, and it could be a 1 thing. So giving you a backstory, I actually heard about this kid in I think it was right around April 4th. First time I heard about him. But I do some research, and I knew Illinois was recruiting him, but I read everywhere that he was going to Wisconsin. And I knew that Illinois was pushing for Adam Miller and DeMay Saar and all these things. So I just was like, yeah, okay. Yeah, he's our guy, and he looks good, but is he going to really go to Wisconsin? Gosh, he'd be really good at Wisconsin. And I didn't really follow up on it and just thought it was there. But I think when we saw them shift and they switched from DeMay and they switched from Adam Miller and they made that bump out, I think they decided that they needed to go in a different direction. So yeah, this was it came out of nowhere in the sense that how fast it. And so I think that's an interesting. He's a really interesting player because you can put the ball in his hands, but you can also play off the ball. So you can play Boswell. Boswell's still going to get his options to run some pick and pops with Tommy or get downhill, use those screens. You're going to have that option. You're going to have right now. Andrei Stojakovic is on his visit with Illinois. Out to dinner right now. And they'd love to lock him up ASAP. And you add him. Now you got a guy who can really be an ISO scorer, a booty ball scorer, a guy who can run off screens. He can do a lot of things, just an elite scorer. You got this guy who can score, but also really pass. You got a Boswell who finished with averaging like 17 and 5 and 4 down the stretch last 7 games. You got a big guy in Tomislav Ivasic. You got multiple options you can play at the power forward. You can play Ty Rodgers at the 4. You want to go a little small? Team goes small. That's fine. We can match up with you. And then you get the athleticism of Rodgers, great offensive rebounder, et cetera. You can have Merkovich, who's extremely skilled, big, physical, tough guy. You can play Big Z and Tommy together a little bit. You can play Big Z in place of Tommy. Then you throw in the fact that you've got these 2 freshmen who are really talented. And maybe Brandon Lee's probably a little more physically ready to play. He's going to look great after a summer with Fletch, I will say. And then I think Wagler also, he's just strength away from being really good. So they've got a really good mix. And I think this guy really fits what they wanted. Because I'll be honest with you, when they were telling me, and I did some research on Adam Miller, and he had really improved his ball handling and his use in ball screens and things like that. But he was more of a spot-up guy. This guy's more of a playmaker. This guy's a dynamic playmaker. Petrovic can really play, use ball screens. He can get downhill. He can take guys off the bounce in isolation situations. He can do a little bit of everything. And he's athletic. He is so quick. I mean, he's so explosive and quick. And I think that we forget. Sometimes we look at him and say he doesn't dunk everything. Yeah, but man, if you can get in that paint, a lot of people have compared him already to Braden Smith from Purdue. And that's pretty fair comparison in the sense that both those guys are so good in ball screens, getting into the paint, playing, and then spraying. And so I think that's what he can do. So there's my breakdown a little bit based on all the film I've watched, talking to different coaches and talked to a couple of European guys as well, and they're really high on him.
Yeah, I had Connor do some breakdowns, and he was saying that quick release on the jumper was something that he really liked. When at 6'3", that's a decent sized point guard, and when you can get rid of the ball fast, well, we've all seen what Steph Curry can do. Now, obviously,
I'm going to go on a limb and say he's not 6'3". I'm going to say he's closer to 6'2", so maybe not full 6'3", but maybe he's got some really high, thick soles. Man, I don't know if they add Stojakovic and you think that's an underwhelming offseason, then I don't even know what you're looking for. This is a top 10 team, top 2 in the Big Ten if they add Stojakovic and Petrovic and Boswell and Ivasic and then so forth. Petrovic is coming here to play.
Yeah, and I'm not certain that you would put Rodgers at point guard anyway, at least not right away. We'll see. I think also he was good at navigating the pick and roll, which you talked about. Very high basketball IQ. I think that goes from how they train over in Europe, where it's so heavily weighted towards practice, not rolling out the ball and playing games. So they go over situation after situation. How do you respond? How do you respond? And I think you probably gain with that type of practice, you gain a little bit of court awareness just because you do things on that repetition. We saw a lot of that when we were down in Atlanta 15 years ago, and you had various coaches from the NBA who were helping out kids, and they really patterned a lot of their practice off of what Europe was doing at that time. Call it the Dirk effect, if you'd like. As decent size for point guard. He's not a Russell Westbrook athlete, but he's not a guy that you're going to be trying to hide. And I think that's important. You've got a guy who's a good athlete out there.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I do think that we've got someone here who I guess we probably should talk. Jeff Alexander's making some incredible inroads across Europe. He had Dame Sarr to the point where you could say that he could have been an Illini. How are they getting this done and really turning Europe into a feeding ground for Illinois?
Jeff has done a fantastic job of building these relationships. It's been amazing what he's done, his ability to find his niche. I was talking to Jeff a couple of years ago, and we were talking about it's going to be, he's got some of those, the Puerto Rican, he's got the East Coast, got some certain schools he had. Tim had Chicago, Tim Anderson at the time. Chester Frazier had some guys. Everybody has a different niche, like a different place where they find their guys from. And it was a really underdeveloped area in the sense that how many kids came over. Once NIL became an option for these kids, they can come to America and they can make more money. And Jeff got in on there early. He's connected with all these agents. He's connecting with all the coaches over there. The dude knows everybody now. And so he can just get on the phone and get on the horn and talk to these guys. And it's not even a big deal. And they all know him. And he's also been there a lot. Jeff and O have traveled. Like, I think they have mileage. The miles they have over to Europe is astounding. Might be going back next week. By the way, did you know Monday night, I posted this on the IlliniGuys message board. Monday night, you've got Petrovic and Merkovic, the battle of the Vitches, committed to Illinois going head to head over in the ABA league there. So pretty cool to see all this. It's pretty cool to see these guys. Their thing about these guys is they're professionals. They've already been professionals in the sense. So they are guys who can come here and really, they embrace it. And the facilities at Illinois, when these guys come here, they're like, oh my gosh, like I'm living large. Hey, things that we take for granted sometimes are like air conditioning, or some things they don't have in a lot of places. It's just not as common. It's a different climate, different culture, different world. But it's really amazing that what Jeff Alexander and Orlando have done. And I got to give, Orlando's known as a great recruiter. I think Jeff's probably overlooked as a recruiter what he's done. You look at the guys he's bringing in not only elite players, but guys who are going to be taking the lottery and things like that. It's like now instead of an 18-year-old coming over, now you got a 22-year-old. So it's really been impressive what he's done.
Yeah, like I said, it's an interesting way to build the team. And I do think you look at this guy, I wouldn't want to put him in the same basket. Again, just I guess all the film I've seen, he doesn't look slow of foot. I know people are like, what about the defense? I'm not saying again that
He's
I was going to say, and I just don't see, you can't put him in the place of, okay, he's a white player from Europe, therefore he's not quick.
yeah.
I just don't think that's probably the way to categorize him right now. And he seems he's going to have that ability. I also like the idea, if I was a player, I would want to come and play in front of the bigger crowds, which is something they don't get, especially if you're trying to transition to the NBA. Because if you watch some of those films, if you have a loud voice, you're going to be heard throughout the auditorium that they play in because there's just not that many people there. So I think that part's a huge advantage to a European player.
Yeah, no question. It's a great thing. I think it's great to come over here and play in college. You get a really great opportunity to showcase what you can do against in a more physical game, a game that's got more high level athletes than you would see over there. But I will say this: there's so many old man guys in over there in Europe. You look at the guys they play against on a day to day basis. They're guys who were used to be college stars, guys who played have NBA experience. They're not like a bunch of bums off the street. They're really good players, and so they should open a Balkans menu. By the way, the number of meme pictures, whatever you want to say, gifs, whatever you want to say, are just fantastic with all the guys in jumpsuits, with Underwood and Antigua and Alexander in jumpsuits and different things like that. It's pretty. It's
That
been
thing is
awesome.
those are classic.
Oh, they're
I
great.
wanted to,
I did
yeah, I
change
thought I
my
was
name.
gonna
Maybe I should have changed my name here to my Twitter name now is Branislav Sturdovic. Maybe I should have changed that for this podcast. I don't know, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
I thought about putting a post out there, but I just didn't know who to credit for all the great pictures. And you don't want to take somebody's thunder, so to speak. And but just didn't know who to credit it to. But I guess as I look at this team now, what do you see the starting lineup looking at for some of the people who are trying to envision that in their mind?
I really think that you're going to see. I would say you're going to see Boswell. You're going to see Ivasic. You're going to see Petrovic, and then you're going to see if they are able to lock up Stojakovic. Having a great visit, I know. We can talk about that in a little bit, but so I'll say add him. He starts at the 4. I think it's different. I don't know who's going to start at the power forward spot yet. They could play Ty Rodgers there. They could really start him there. They could start David Merkovich there. They could start Big Z there. They could start any of those guys. And it could depend on matchups, like how you want to match up with these teams. If they're playing a team like Maryland last year with their 2 big guys, you probably play 2 big guys with them, whether it's Merkovich or Big Z. And then you have, they are going to play Tommy and Z together. They're going to play them some together, much like they tried to do with Tommy and Merez this year. The good thing is that they can do a lot of things. Somebody's asking over here about Jovic. I don't see him coming to the nation. I think that he is going to the NBA. I think he's going to stay in the draft. That's what I'm hearing. Somebody mentioned, I know Illinois has talked to him. Obviously, he's one of the best friends for Petrovic. And so I think there's a good connection there, but I think that they're going to go in a different direction there. I don't think they're going to add anybody else. I think you're looking at their bench being, then let's say we start Ty Rodgers. Then you've got Merkovich and Big Z, and you've got Brandon Lee, Keaton Wagler, plus you have Jaxtus now eligible. You're adding him. And then, I think you have 13 bodies with AJ Red being the 13th guy, Jaxtus being maybe the 12th. And you've got 13 guys. And you just I think you roll it out and see what happens. And there may be different, who outplays who. I think that's part of it. And yeah, it's all very interesting. Now, other thing about this is I don't know. One thing I would say is that there are a lot of guys that are still out there and going to pop open. So I think they're probably done. But if they get Stojakovic, but I would say this, I wouldn't be shocked if some of these guys come back. They're not going to just say, you're not going to say no. If you get an opportunity to get a really good dude, but I think for now, I think they're where they are where they're at, and I think they're good.
Yeah, again, I think we're looking at a guy here where Underwood. Let's be honest, Underwood does have a tendency sometimes to react strongly to stimuli. And so last year, I think there were some moments where the team was a little young. He'd like to get old again. So getting a player like this gets you some age and some experience. I think that is something that is important, and I think that
Yeah.
in this case, I think Underwood is going in that direction. And a guy who's a ball handler, it's hard to argue that in my mind. To have, I've never seen yet when a coach has been on the sideline going, "I don't need more experience with the guys who've got the ball in their
I'd
hands."
like to have younger guys who can turn it
But
over more. That would be ideal. No, that's not
sometimes it looks
something.
like that's what they recruited, but that's not what they want.
Yeah, no, this is true. No, and I think you're right. I think they want the older guys. I think it's difficult to say. You don't know how this is going to turn out. You had a lot of new pieces. One thing I think Illinois has a really high floor next year with these guys. So I think that's really nice because they have veteran guys. They have guys who know how to play, guys who've been there, and they still have guys who have some room to grow too. And so I think if they can put it all together, I didn't even mention Humrickhouse and Davis, who are both older guys who can shoot and do some things. I think, and the Illinois coaching staff really believes that Humrickhouse is going to have a better year this year. They think he's going to be more comfortable in the new role, and also as a veteran guy in a second year at a high major. So they feel much better about where he's at. I guess it's still 3 hours and a half. He could still portal, but yeah. So I think they feel good about where he's at and having him and Davis in that mix of players. Now, Stojakovic on his visit. Humrikovic. I think Humrikovic is the way to go. Stojakovic on his visit. His dad here, Peja, former NBA All-Star, obviously a great player, great shooter. So he's here with him. They're on the visit. I think the facilities at Ubben pretty much blow any of these guys out of the water when they see him because they are NBA level facilities. And I think that was a comment that was actually made somewhere that it's like this looks like an NBA level facilities. A lot of things going on there, and they really love the campus. And so Illinois is a really good place here. And they're going to see again see what happens at dinner tonight and go from there. And Illinois would love to get him to commit in the next either today, tomorrow, or Thursday. And no more visits. I think everybody feels like it's going to happen even outside national people. Everybody feels Illinois is a really good spot. Kentucky and Duke backed off. It does look like that. But until it happens, it doesn't happen. We're in portal combat. So nothing is ever safe, right?
Yes, nothing is ever safe. And of course, we're finding that out across the board for just players that we never thought would entered the portal. Let's just say they were somehow fortunate enough to get Stojakovic. We've got Petrovic. Are they done after those two? Or is there a just in case fund that's out there in case Riley
if
surprises
Riley
everybody?
wants to come back, they'll figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Will Riley, they figure him out. But I don't think they're going to add anymore. Here's what we know about Brad Underwood. Is he going to play 12 guys, 13 guys? Probably not.
Can we play 9?
I think 9's pretty standard there, right? 9, 10 guys at most. But Brad's going to probably play. He really relies on 8. And he gets some other guys. I think he gets some other guys minutes, especially later in the season. I thought one of the keys to the Elite 8 team was starting to use Draven Gibbs-LaHorn off the bench and Dane Danger. Get him a few more minutes. And I think that helped them. And they rotated who played. And I think that's one thing that does help. If Stojakovic comes, you have Stojakovic and Petrovic and Boswellovic and Ivasic and Rodjerzovic. And so you've got all these guys that they're going to play, right? Mirkovic didn't come here to not play minutes. I'm not saying he's going to play 30, 35 minutes, but he's going to play. So you've got a lot of guys who are going to play. So they're not going to play a bunch of 12 guys. So I don't know what the only thing you'd be adding a guy for is to just in case somebody got hurt, because these are your guys you're going to play. So yeah. No, by the way, somebody said having TSJ did not hurt. You are correct. Having him and his play during the Big Ten tournament and the first 3 rounds of the NCAA tournament was nothing short of spectacular. Yeah, he was huge. And they're not going to have a guy like that. They may not have a guy like that in college ever again. TSJ was a first-team All-American level guy that year, top 5 player in the game.
And he should have been the runner-up to the player of the year, if not for some false
or second or third at worst in those votings, but he didn't because of those false accusations.
By the way, how many people, though, this is what drives me crazy sometimes. I don't see Michigan State fans going, you know what, Judd Heathcote was good, but anybody could have done that with Magic Johnson. I
Yeah.
never see that, but boy, I hear that. I used to hear that with Lou. He had Nick Anderson. He should have won a title, and then the only one who's avoided that at his tenure at Illinois was Bill Self, and of course John Gross didn't have anybody, so didn't have to worry about it.
Yeah,
But
it's fair.
it does surprise me sometimes how we look. You know what? Where I come from, if your coach is the guy who lands Terrence Shannon Jr., then he deserves to sit in the front row and clap a lot.
Exactly. It's Matt Painter. He got Zach Edey, and he got to a national title game. Somebody had to get Zach Edey, so that was a good job by him. I don't know. It's interesting. Now, here's one thing. Another thing to think about moving forward. As they go through this, and they have
this is what happens when you're Brad Sturdy, the man who gets 10,000 texts in 2 days. You got to keep track because news could break at any moment.
I did. I was just saying, my fault. Sorry.
No, I'm just saying that I'm trying to explain to people when Brad shows you like the number of texts you're sitting next to him. I don't think I've got as many texts in my life as he gets in a weekend like this.
Yeah, it's insane. It was 1 month. There was what was I saying that one? It was over 30,000 text messages. And if I started looking at that and I said, that's over 1,000 a day. That's stupid. What am I doing? And so sometimes I miss some. But anyway, so let's say this. So what's going to happen in the future? I think we're going to see more high school recruiting down the road. I think beginning in that 2026 class, we're going to have a ruling on the eligibility, right? You're done with COVID, guys. There's going to be the House settlement, and people are going to have, don't get me wrong. Let's say basketball gets $6 million or whatever.
He doesn't need any more friends.
Please no more.
We'll put it out there for you.
Yeah, thanks. But if we had literally true story, if you look at down the road, you're going to have $6 million. There's still going to be under the table payments going on. There are going to be other payments going on. I'm not doubting that. We're going to get to more of some normalcy. And in this situation, since I think these numbers right now are so inflated until the House settlement thing goes through, that people are throwing, got $10+ million budgets and $12 million budgets, all these things. I don't think that's going to happen in the future. And so as we kind of look at this, what's going to happen is you're going to see a reversion back to high school recruits who they're going to get money. But they're not going to get as much money as they are getting now, I don't think. And so I think it's going to be more normalcy. So I think you're going to see, instead of taking just 1 or 2 high school kids, I think you're going to see maybe in the class of 2026, Illinois might take 3 or 4 high school kids if they can get guys who can contribute early. And then, because there's going to be fewer, the portal is still going to be expensive. But if you have to add 6, 7 guys and you only have $6 million, and then you're going to have to pay under the table, because people under the table this is why we talked about donor fatigue and different things are going to happen. But this is why they're using it all now. And so this is one of those things that's going to, I think, change. And so people are trying to get all this money out there. Someone named Jenny responded. Oh, these comments are great.
Yeah, it's 8675-309.
Good stuff.
No, I do the Fighting Illyrians. So maybe if we could do that, and then you won't have the chief anymore, we could just have a Baltic warrior come out and do a dance. As long as we don't get any Baltic people upset about our presentation of the warrior, it should be pretty good. I'm sure Josh Whitman just turned off the podcast.
Yeah.
ILLINIVIC.
Alinovich.
But Bruce is hot tonight, man.
He is. That's good stuff.
Oh gosh, dang! I do think this is a.
They do the new chant, like thirds of the Assembly or State Farm Center. ILLINIVIC.
I can actually see it. Awesome. We're adding 3. We're adding
good.
3.
I love it. We're gonna add 3. We're gonna have 3 groups.
Oh my!
So yeah, no, it's good.
Gracious.
So
yes.
I do think Illinois are just kind of looking at this roster. If they're able to add Stojakovic, I think this roster is really good. I know people say that they don't like this or don't like that, but I'm telling you, I really feel like Yaxel Lindenborg from Michigan is probably going to the NBA. And that's where he wants to go. So as we go through this, we see that you look at this roster, I think it's on par with, it's right there with Purdue. The one thing I love about this Illinois roster is the versatility it has too. Now, you got to stay healthy. Things got to go your way, but I have so many different offensive options. We talked about them wanting to play through Tommy. Now you have guys, multiple ball handlers. Boswell is a secondary ball handler, maybe with Petrovic, and then you throw in Stojakovic, who's also a low turnover guy, high usage guy, who's a very good passer, probably underrated. You got Ty Rodgers, who's a good ball handler, maybe not the shooter, but he can do other things. And so then you look at Merkovich, who's also extremely skilled. We know how skilled Tommy is. We know how skilled Big Z is. So many skilled guys, and they have length. You can play an more athletic lineup with Ty at the 4. I think this team has a lot of potential to be really good.
Are they going to recognize the Ivasic brothers after 6 months with Fletch?
I will say this: Tommy lost a lot of weight during his mono, and he lost a lot of strength. I really think that getting Tommy healthy and getting him stronger in the offseason is going to be huge. And I think that you're going to see Fletch do some good work on Z, because I think he understands. Because remember, Zvonimir, Big Z, was the higher touted prospect before. When he came into Kentucky, they were talking, we got this 7'2" guy who can handle it and pass it. His first game, remember, he's throwing behind the back passes. People are like, holy cow, this guy's he's like a more athletic Arvydas Sabonis, from back in the day or something. He's shooting threes. He can deck it. He can pass it. It didn't turn out that way. But if he gets stronger, the potential is still there. It's not like he suddenly got bad. I think the potential there is huge. And he's going to work with a big man coach like Orlando. And he was better at Kentucky playing with Orlando coaching him than he was when he went to Arkansas. So I think O has that connection with him. Also, O's known as being one of the best big man coaches in the country. So I think that's really important. I think that's a really good situation for him. And so I think he'll get better. I think this is a really good group.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I have to struggle less with right now is the fit of the team. I can look at this and see where these guys fit together. And you can see Underwood has also spoke about, and I think people forget about it, but he's also spoke a lot about interchangeability. And this roster has that interchangeability at quite a few spots on it. And he's always talked about positionless basketball. And I think that's something that maybe was in the back of his mind as he was recruiting this roster as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think you want to have, and I will say this, one thing that it does with Brad, one thing we know is he's very reactionary. You see they have 5 out and he wanted to use Coleman as the 5 against a year ago because he wanted to have that spacing. Well, Coleman wasn't really a center. Let's be honest. He was a 4. And so what we have here is that then you have Dane there, and they actually played pretty well down the stretch. He went in last year and he said, you know what we need to do is we need to have a 5 who can play inside, but can also shoot it from 3 and space the floor, and then we can lift him. He saw what Conrad Krutwig did to them when Kofi couldn't guard him out on the perimeter. And so I think that's where it's been really impressive how he's done that. Sometimes it's a little too much, but I think you see this year, he wasn't going to get stuck with one center or even just 2 and not having a third guy. Now you have multiple guys, because I'll be honest with you, Merkovich 6'8", 6'9", you can play him at center in a lot of matchup as well. And yeah, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Somebody asked here, why are other schools slow to adapt to Euro invasion? I think that some of it is this is what Illinois decided to do. And here's the other part about this. Jeff Alexander I think they know him. He's like, when he flies into somewhere in the Balkans, he's Norm going into the Cheers bar. They know him. Everybody knows him. Jeff, Norm. What's that kind of thing? So I think that's been huge. But I think also the European guys come over here. To be honest, I mean, we like to talk about how much money people are getting in the portal. And what we see here is that they don't have to pay these guys what they pay guys who are already here. It's really insane. I mean, that you can get some of these guys. What they got KJ for last year compared to what he would have gotten if he was a guy who was going to be a lottery pick here was really good. And I think they'll get less guys. And you have some guys who are role players who are getting $1.5 million, and you're bringing in guys for less than that who are like playing top 5 player in the ABA over in Europe. And that's fantastic. And the relationships allow you. And I know people always say it's always about money, but it isn't always about money. There are guys that they can get for less money than what they are than other schools are offered, because they have that relationship, because they've spent so much time over there. And I'm not saying if it's $1 million less, it's not going to matter. But if it's 700,000 versus 900,000 and they're comfortable and they know they're going to be comfortable, you see that. Yep. So I think that they're doing a fantastic job of getting talent where they can get it. And I know that they were taken aback by some of the dollar amounts that some of these guys, United States guys, wanted. It's a lot, just a ton.
Yep.
$5
the
Adriatic
back.
League, that is not true. Just so you know, there are multiple former NBA players in that league. There are guys who are played G League, guys who are college all-stars. So, yeah, no, it's not true, but whatever.
Yeah. He has fun when he comes back to see us.
That's good. I like it.
I like to think that he can't quit us. But I don't know. But I will say that we don't want to belabor this podcast. I think we've hit everything that we need to hit. I have to admit, Brad, I just saw the episode of The Last of Us. Wow, that was episode 2 this season. Massive event there. Very moving. I didn't play the game, so I was shocked. I don't know if you're watching that show, Brad, but that was quite a bit of a moment in TV. Do you watch The Last of Us?
I have not. I do, but I'm not. I wait until they all come out.
Okay.
The second
episode is unbelievable.
I'm sure it's good. I can't wait. I cannot literally wait a week between episodes. It's just
what I do.
My ADD and my ADHD, like I have to focus on a show for a week, because when I come back to it, I'm like, wait, where was I? What show is this?
As a sales director, I got to drive all over the metro area. So I will watch the show on Sunday night, and then Monday morning, there's a podcast from a group called Bald Move. They do their instant take that night before. So I listen to that. Then Tuesday afternoon on my drive home, I listen to their analysis that they do on Tuesday after looking up all the crap they can possibly look at for a 1-hour TV show. And then on Friday or Thursday or Friday, they have their feedback from the 2 shows earlier. So I get to literally watch the show once and then get it repeated to me like 3 times. Works great. So anything else that we need to add before we close this one down here tonight, Brad?
No, I think we're just all on Stojakovic watch now, just to see what happens there, and if they can't get that commitment, because I think he's the key piece. One thing I'll say about him, we talked about it last night, so I don't want to go too long, but he's the guy they wanted. He is the guy. He's the guy they wanted since the beginning since he entered the portal, and before he went there, they wanted him before. But obviously, once he entered the portal, they were all over him. It's something they feel like he's going to be an all Big Ten, potentially first team all Big Ten type guy. He's a guy who can put up 17 points. He can dish out 5 assists and grab 6 rebounds, whatever it is. He's 6'7". He's 205 pounds. He does need some fletch work. I think he could get stronger. And so I think getting him here in June, I think that this prepares him. And can you imagine? They take another guy who obviously was coveted, but he has the potential. You could turn him into a first-round draft pick after a year. Imagine the credibility that they have. Everybody's, look, I'll take less money because you're going to make me money long-term, year after year, if they're able to do this again, because so that's where it is there. So he's having he's having a great visit. Love the facilities. Peja's with him. So he knows the deal, right? Obviously, he's been around the block a little bit, knows a little bit about basketball. But so I think this is, he's having a great bit. Loved Ubben. Who doesn't love Ubben? Like, I wish I had Ubben to work out in. But so it's going well, having some dinner and hanging out. And so I think it's going to be, so we'll know more later on this evening, hopefully, maybe in the morning.
Yeah, we'll have a podcast tomorrow night again if there is a commitment. Well, that'll be a lot of fun. We'll probably somewhere around between 8 and 9 o'clock if there is one. And of course, you can also tune into our radio show, the IlliniGuys Sports Spectacular. You can go to IlliniGuys.com, hit the radio button up on the top, and that'll show you all the stations we're on and what time we have our show on, and you can tune in there. We will have the latest update on that as well. Going to be like I said, this could be a big story for the Illini. We're hopeful. I know I'll feel a little bit as a sales guy, if he gets out the door and goes to another visit, I'll be a little bit concerned, to be frank. But if they can close it down tonight, that would be fantastic for what is needed for the Illini to have a roster that's pretty darn solid. And then the nice thing is, I don't anticipate Will Riley coming back, not with the management group that he's with. If it does happen, I trust that they'll make a run to try to get Will Riley feeling good about next year as well. And as far as I'm concerned, you can't have too many players, because we saw this year with all the weird stuff that happened, a deep roster is an important thing. Brad, any final thoughts, and then we'll shut her down.
No, it's just thanks for listening. I think it's been a really good day for Illinois already. Hopefully it gets better later on.
Yep. I totally agree with that. So thank you so much, folks, for paying us a little bit of your time tonight. We will certainly be back again if the need be tomorrow night. Until then, folks, go Illini.
Well,
and I.
BIC.